Good morning, folks. Welcome to Awakening Israel. I think we're on 135. I'll have to check. Get this one numbered properly. It's just after midnight. Went to bed early. I might have gotten 4 hours of sleep in. And I've awoken. Stomach is a little upset. There's a few things bothering me. I watched a video of Merrick Garland, Attorney General Merrick Garland. And I would love to be able to start this video off with a sense of levity and possible unity. I'd love to be able to start off and say, we got you. We're on to you. Now that the FBI, our illustrious FBI, has identified the white supremacists, you folks that attend the High Latin Mass, we're on to you. But it's not funny, and there's no way to make levity of it. It's not funny at all. You see, the man who is the head of the organization who's made that determination is a Jew. And we're not allowed to point that out. At least he pretends to be a Jew. Attorney General Merrick Garland purports that he's a Jewish gentleman. I have to question that. Because what type of imbecile does it take to finger a group because they like an old Latin Mass? Now, how evil is a Latin Mass? I have to ask that question. Now, I have a buddy who tells me it's pretty evil because every time they do it, they bring Christ down from heaven and crucify him over again. Now, I think that's kind of an ugly ceremony if that's what it is. But don't ask me. I'm not fluent in Latin. I've never attended a Latin Mass. I don't think I have. I mean, maybe I did one time. When I hung out with my Catholic friends that were going to school in the same school bus, but to a different school, I became a bit jealous, a little envious, because I heard about the education they were getting, heard about how tough the sisters were, heard about those erasers flying over the classroom and how good the sister was at targeting a kid with it. I mean, if she was upset with you, she popped you with an eraser, clear the classroom. She was good at it. And if it wasn't the eraser, it was a ruler or a yardstick or something like that she would discipline you with. She was given carte blanche. She had total control of her class. And the education that they were getting sounded a lot better than what I was getting in the public school system. I really wanted to go. But that wasn't the only time that I was a bit envious and jealous and wanted to improve my educational opportunities. Prior to that, I wanted to go to the German schools when I was in Germany. American schools, there wasn't much discipline. There were too many students for the teacher in the classroom. Oh, I had two wonderful teachers over there. But I also had one teacher in particular that was hell on wheels. And that one pretty much scarred me for life. And I remember her name was Miss Johnson. And she was in Europe, so she could tour freely. And she was a very bitter single woman. She didn't like children. She certainly did not like me. Anyway. She didn't maintain very good order in that classroom, and I didn't like it very much. The German boys and girls seemed to be more orderly. I would have liked that better. And that was a military, military, what did they call us? Dependent. Your dependents. It was a military dependence class. And it was not very good. I remember going to the principal's office quite often. It got to the point that when I was called to go to the principal's office and my mother was going to be summoned, I felt comfortable because I'd been there so much. And the two women talked, And we left, and everything was fine. And I never could figure out what the heck was going on. Figured out later on that my mother had that principal for one of her teachers in her little town of Newmarket, New Hampshire. And they knew each other pretty well. And the teacher was a problem. Miss Johnson was a problem. I wasn't the problem. They knew she was the problem. But she was on contract, and they were stuck with her. She was not a nice person. I don't mean to make this about me, but that's where we drifted to. But let's go back to you white supremacists out there, you boys, I guess, and girls that attend the Latin Mass. What type of a jackass does it take to head the Department of Justice to oversee, approve, and keep on going after people because they're going to a Latin Mass? You know, I remember that saying, at least the form of it. First they came for the whatever it was, but that didn't include me, so I didn't do anything. Then they came from so-and-so, but that still wasn't me, didn't do anything. Then they came from another group. I didn't say anything, didn't want to cause trouble, get in trouble. And then finally there was no one left but me. I think that was one of those things where the Jewish people were talking about being targeted, being the victims. And here we have this man who's head of the Department of Justice who was pissed off and angry at the world. And it is obvious to the casual observer. Watch him in his testimony before the Congress, before the Senate. And you can hear how butthurt he is. And what is he injured by? He didn't get appointed to the Supreme Court. Thank God that angry little man wasn't appointed to be a justice on the Supreme Court. We'd be stuck with his horrible decisions because he doesn't like the rest of us. I mean, just because he's going after the Catholics, that doesn't mean Protestants are safe or okay. I think Attorney General Garland needs to be removed from the bench. I think he's a dangerous man. He shows us the unity of those Jews that are behind the scenes at the government, and some of them, they aren't so behind the scenes. They're right there in your face. And they want to go after Christians, Bible readers, people of faith who actually have morals and values and, generally speaking, live good lives. Generally speaking, don't commit many crimes. And he's going to focus on parents because they dare complain about these school systems, these scroll boards. Come on, folks. He needs to come out of office and fast. There should be no soft landing for somebody like that son of a bitch. He needs to be pulled. He needs to be yanked. No, I'm a Bible reader. You know that. You're on this channel. You're here for a reason. You're here because I've got a perspective. You're here because we focus on the scriptures. Try not to focus on me. Try not to focus on personalities. I realize that I've got to be authentic and honest with you and really share my perspectives and be vulnerable. And above all, proclaim my inadequacies in doing any kind of a proper Bible study. I mean, I do feel inadequate, but please don't get me wrong. I've read the Bible for a while, for about a decade and a half. That might sound like a long time, but to me it's not. It's inadequate. And you want an example, look at Saul. Saul, when he got converted on the road to Damascus, he went away for quite a while. He doesn't show up. And if you look at the Bible carefully, how many years is he out of the public limelight? How many years go by and he's not mentioned? It's actually a couple of decades. It's about 20 years. So what does Saul do for 20 years? Well, he repents. And he probably reads the scriptures for 20 years. And he probably studied with Gamaliel, with a great teacher back then, other teachers as well. So, as you can see, I feel a little short-shrifted because I'd like to have 20 years And some of the men that I visited have let me down. Some have passed on. Some I didn't get to meet. They passed away before I could get there. But this jackass of a man who is hurt, wounded, and it's a deep wound, he's never going to recover from it. He bleeds through his woundedness right there in front of the Senate. And he tells them, he always gives them an excuse. A justice of the Supreme Court. You would go after a justice. You would this and that. He uses the justice analogy, example, all of the time. So there it is. He's telling you, I am hurt and wounded because you people passed me over and wouldn't allow me to have the justice position. You wouldn't make me Supreme Court justice for life. It's nowhere in the Constitution does it say for life. It says may serve while under good behavior. This man obviously has got something wrong with him. It's in his craw. He is pissed off and angry because he didn't become a Supreme Court justice, and he's going to take it out on the rest of us. He is not fit for the office of Department of Justice, not fit to be Attorney General. He shouldn't even be a damn attorney. They should disbar his ass as fast as possible. Maybe they should commit him. Quite seriously, he's a danger to other people. He's in a position of authority. And here he is going after brothers and sisters in Christ? Okay, you know that that's not the term that I like very much either. Matter of fact, I think the people that jackass identifies as being one of them, and I don't think he's a Jew in good standing. He ain't right. There's something seriously disturbed about the man. He has a serious pathology. He needs to be pulled out. But when you got a president like Biden, he looks like an altar boy. He looks like a choir boy. He looks perfect. He looks like a cherub. He looks innocent. The Bible is very clear. Either we submit to the law of Creator Father God, Yahweh, or we're going to be ruled by men, by man's law. And the laws are unending. And they are contradictory. And they are big screw-ups. Just look at the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms bullshit going on today. You don't live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. You do not have a Bill of Rights that's in effect protecting you, limiting your government. Your government has exceeded its bounds. Why? Because you refuse to discipline yourselves. You refuse to submit to God's will. You refuse to live by the 10 Commandments. Natural law, the foundation of Western civilization. And you think Western civilization can survive that kind of bullshit? No, it cannot. That's why we're going through what we're going through. Now, will we come through it? Will we get through it okay? I don't know. You don't either. And it is scary. So, what can we do about it? Well, I think you need to take the advice of Barack Insane Obama. Barack Obama gave you a good tip when he said the people, in flyover country, the people in the middle of the country, the people in the heartland where they're dumbasses and don't know anything, they cling to their guns and their Bibles. You only got part of it right. Cling to your guns. Okay? Pray to Creator Father Yahweh God. You never have to use it. You never have to turn to it. But look at what happened in South Africa. And you think they're not going to go after you and your guns? Man, you need to hang out with some of the guys from South Africa. I just happened to meet a couple of them. One was a single guy. The other one was a fellow who married here, had a beautiful family. I mean, he took the word of the Lord very seriously, and he has been very fruitful. He's got a beautiful family. He works his butt off and struggles very hard. And the other fellow was kind of carefree. They miss their country, their homeland. They miss South Africa. And they both had different perspectives, but the one thing each one of them told me was they had to carry sidearms, and they had to use them to defend their very lives. And look at South Africa today, where it's required that you discriminate against a white man. And they chant all the time, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, kill the guy that feeds you. What insanity. And they try to claim that that land belonged first to the blacks that are there. No, little part of it inside there, yes. But for the most part, it wasn't occupied, it wasn't developed. The Boer, the farmers, between the English and the Germans, the Dutch, they went there and they developed that land. And the same group that took that nation down is taking this nation down. And they claim they are Jews. They say they are Jews, but I declare that they are not. I think what they do is they fulfill the scriptures of Revelations 2:9 and 3:9. I know you who say you are Jews and are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. Don't worry, there's plenty of those that have infiltrated the ranks of the Catholics and the Protestants. There's plenty of the Satanists to go around hidden in every one of our religions on this planet right now. I, for one, believe that these religions were started by fallen angels. I believe each one is presided over by fallen angels, and I'm not going to take the credit for generating that thought. That came from Pastor Jerry Wicke, who is no longer in good health. I don't even know if he's with us at all anymore. But he expressed that to me in one of our conversations. And of course, I sat there and marveled, trying to figure out, how could this be true? You got an angel at the head of the church? And then I realized, oh, heck, we got the perfect example. We have the Mormons in America. They're almost an indigenous race here, you know. They are American, if anything's American, is the Church of Latter-day Saints. And they're good guys. They're wonderful people to hang out with. They've got really good values. Oh, don't get me wrong. There's screw-ups in every faith. Especially the women. I'm sorry to say that. And there's definitely some screw-ups in the men. I understand, ladies. I understand it's hard to find a good one. A good man. But if we look at the Church of Latter-day Saints, as they like to call themselves, or the Mormons, as the rest of us call them, on the top of every one of their steeples of their temples, they got their angel. They know the name of the fallen angel, or whatever, who's head of their church, Moroni. And in case you're wondering how I put this together, I didn't do it on my own. There's a fellow up in Canada. I don't know his name. I don't think he's Jewish. I think he's what you want to call Native American. I think he's of Mongolian ancestry. I don't know. He could be some sort of European. He's a dark and swarthy type. He likes wearing hats. He likes wearing his hair a bit on the long side. If I had hair like that, I'd wear it long too. It's a sign of his youth and his vigor. And he produced a wonderful, wonderful video. It's from Western Canada. And in this video, he shows you the New World Order capital, the latest capital city for the New World Order bastards. And that will be Astana. And he shows us the architecture. And they take us and show us the video of it. And you can see it's satanic in nature. You can just sense it even looking at it from the distance. It's laid out beautifully. It is a nice modern city. It is the newest. The newest is certainly not in the Western world. Isn't that incredible? We're the latest and the greatest, the biggest and the badasses. We're the big dogs in America. And our cities are run down, and you have Astana. It's like brand new, and it's beautiful. I mean, the architecture is satanic, but it's beautiful. And you go into one of the buildings. They took us in the building, and there's a giant round table. And at this round table, there was a chair. And it was like a piece of pie going from the chair to a point in the middle of this table. All of these things went to the point in the middle of the table. And at each one of these seats was one of the major religions of the world. And what was in the middle of the table? What were they unified under? Up above was a dome, a dome with a giant sun god in it. They're unified under the sun. You know, there's nothing new under the sun. So each one of these organized religions, these vestiges of good behavior and morality and guidance for humanity, each one of them is under their god Apollo, Apollyon. Come on, it's in the book of Revelations. Do I need to look it up for you? I can, I will. I don't know which one I'm going to go to. The Bible tells us quite a bit. It does not reveal itself to the casual reader. I need to read it more. I can't wait till my life gets a little bit more even so I can do some marathon reading in the Bible again. That would give me great relief. But let's get back to our Attorney General. Let's get back to the fact that Merrick Garland has fingered the white supremacists. And I'd love to be able to point the finger and laugh, sort of, and say tongue-in-cheek that, we got you. We're on to you. Now that the FBI has identified you people, you boys, you white supremacist boys, man, we're on to you. We're going to get you. The problem is, there's been enough fighting. There's been a lot of problems and not much unity. And then these devils, these guys out of Babylon, are destroying Mother Earth. They've taken over all these organized religions from what I see. And they took over all the seminaries before the Civil War. And they preached a weird religion. It has thrown things off so much that when my publisher asks me about the Bible, doesn't it have enough in there to get you saved? Well, that's what Pastor Jerry Wicke said. It has just enough in there to get you saved. That's not good enough for me. I'm sorry. I want the other books. I think they're necessary. I think they were cut out by the Jesuits when they went after the Protestant Reformation. I think we're stuck with the books that the Roman Catholic Church gave us. Sure, there's something to be argued about over that. There's something to be upset about. But right now, are we going to sit back and let this, what is he? I don't want to call him a Jewish gentleman because I don't think he's a Jew in good standing. I think he's one of those who says he's a Jew and is not. One that Yahshua, the Messiah, who you like to call Jesus Christ, most of the world prefers to call him Jesus Christ, he identified for us in the Bible. He called them right out. It's a double witness in there. And you can even see an echo if you go to the next chapter. So Revelations 2:9, Revelations 3:9, and if you go to 4:9, you'll see a little bit of an echo of the same thing. It's a double witness at the least. Meaning, pay attention to this. Creator Father Yahweh, Yahshua, the Christ, he wants you to know this stuff. He wants you to learn this stuff. And so we have a group that's really atheistic in that Jewish religion, that a lot of folks out there claim that there's a Judeo-Christian heritage. I don't think there is one. I think that's part of the great deception that's been pulled. Certainly there is a history, but it wasn't preceded by the Jewish tradition and then gave birth to the Christian tradition. It started out as the Israelite tradition, which gave birth to the Christian tradition. And the way I see it is the Jewish faith didn't come together in its current form for a few centuries after the Christian tradition was formed. That's the way I see it. And the Muslim faith came to being about the same time. And I really think that the people that were up high in the Roman Catholic Church started both of those behind the scenes. And I think the same people had their fingers in the Protestant Reformation when it come around. They have had their spies everywhere. We talk about a deep state. So the deep state's limited just to the United States government and those evil bought-off politicians that do not a Roman salute when they get off the plane in foreign lands, but they do the same salute that, what did they call him? Il Dolce, that Mussolini gave when he got out. They fist bump and then do the salute, which pretty much is a giveaway that we're living under fascism. And you all want to call it Nazism. Well, whatever it is as evil as can be. And they've been dividing us for a long time to keep us under control and keep us conquered up. The British were famous for that. The British have caused a lot of trouble. But are they the British? No, they've been taken over as well by a bunch of name changers, descendants of the Khazarians, the Edomites, and the Radonites out of Babylon. I guess I should say I'm happy they identified you guys as the white supremacists. I was afraid I might be identified and called a white supremacist. Of course I'm going to be called that. That's already been used against me by a Negro gentleman who was trying to claim I was racist, who lied, claiming I called him the N-word. Sorry, folks, you get caught in your lies. Your little lies give you away. Anyway, do we stand idly by while this FBI picks off Latin goers? I had a business deal about a month ago with a Catholic fellow, and he said the Protestants have no business reading the Bible. That was his attitude. Not a very good attitude, I don't think. Certainly not a proper attitude. I guess everybody wants to rule the world. The Catholics still want to dominate the whole damn thing. The Jews definitely want to dominate. If there's any supremacism on the face of the earth, it's Jewish supremacism. Why? Because they're running around claiming they're the chosen ones. They're the chosen people. And they're not. They weren't chosen. They chose themselves. They're putting themselves up as their own Messiah. And they're going after the rest of us. But are those really Jews? Because the way I read the Bible, there is a group out there, the House of Judah. And they have to do some wonderful things with the people from the House of Israel, which I identify as being from. We have identity problems. We have heart problems. We have our inherent nature as human beings. And it appears that Eastern tradition holds some weight in that and contributes to it. The teaching was that thought generates as a twine thought, the positive and the negative, the good and the evil are generated together at the same time, and they bubble up through consciousness. And hopefully your psychology, your structure, your character filters out the good thought, so allows it through. Filters out the bad thought is what I should be saying. But, chooses the good over the bad. And when we read in the Apocrypha how thought might have started in 2 Esdras, we did that the other day. We covered that. It just passed in front of my eyes for a minute, and I commented on that. And then we have the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Well, all of these traditions bring something to the table. And I love Tagalog of the Filipinos, because Tagalog is the name of their language. It's also the name of the bird in their tradition, the bird that hovered over the waters and terraformed the earth. What a beautiful story. And here in the book of Genesis, we have the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the face of the waters of the deep. Sounds like the Spirit of the Lord was terraforming the earth. I mean, we could imagine that that might have been some sort of a spaceship. You know, it's possible that it might have been a spaceship, might have been a bird. Maybe it's something that we can't imagine. Maybe that spirit is just something that's beyond our abilities to comprehend. These traditions have got similar roots. They overlap too much, especially when you get around to the peoples of the Pacific. They're the ones that really pull stuff together. And those poor people in New Zealand, their government is clamping down on them. And the poor people in North America, every time we bring something to the attention of the Smithsonian and say, hey, we got a giant skeleton here, it disappears. Where does it go? What does the Smithsonian do with those? Why is the government of New Zealand suppressing the truth? Why do they perpetuate lies? Why do they fail to operate for the good of their own peoples? It's wonderful in New Zealand. They talk about the redheaded ones of old that were there, and they're all gone now. And what I love is on the video, they're interviewing one of the elders, and she's closer to 100 years old than she is to 50 years old, and she's got this beautiful red hair still, and she's an elder. I think she has green eyes on top of her, blue eyes, whatever it is. She's got some beautiful eyes to her, and she's got pretty fair skin. And of course, her own government's busy telling her that people such as her no longer exist. They're all gone. She says, really? Then what am I? She understands her roots. It was wonderful to see her, being interviewed there. I really love the people that put those videos together, because now we've got the record. We have this woman right in front of us. The evidence is right under your nose. It's very obvious. And if you go up to southeast Alaska, not to the Tlingit, but to the Haida, you will find that they're also related to those people across the Pacific as well. And you find out the way station, if you will, in Hawaii, they've got a big part of this transvance of humanity and cultures and art to account for. I mean, everybody's got like a critical piece of the puzzle, a critical role in this stuff. And even the birds, there was a particular species of bird that they were told, you want to go home? Because they'd go across the ocean, thousands of miles. And the elders at this other place were told, oh yeah, you can go home. There's a bird. You follow this bird. Turns out there's a particular species of seagull. Migrates right back up to the Panhandle in Alaska, so they could go home from Polynesia. They followed the birds. The birds took them home. Are we going to tolerate? Are we going to fail? I mean, they're going to call out the Roman Catholics. They're going to call out the High Mass, the Latin attendees. So why can't we call out the Jew who's in charge of all of this stuff? Why can't we point at the Jews that are in power over us, that are lording it over us? And these don't seem to even be Jews, to be honest with you. These seem to be people who are agnostic. They don't have any belief in God at all. So are they imposters? Are they the real deal? That is the big question. And of course, if you're on my channel, you know my answer to it. No, they're not the real deal. They are descendants. Unfortunately, they are the real deal. The real descendants of Cain. And some of them are converts over to that ill-gotten bunch of religions that came out of that tradition from that fellow who murdered his brother. Merrick Garland does not like the people of this nation. He is angry. He is butthurt. He feels he was entitled to that lifetime appointment as justice so he could rule over us, and he didn't get it. So he's going to take it out on the rest of us. Why don't we recognize the pathology of the jackass and just take him out of his office? That's what should happen. And those damn Democrats who want to say, well, we need to go after Trump's attorney general that he had last, tit for tat sort of stuff, they're insane. They need to be sent home and packing. If we had a truly constitutional government, the form our founders gave us, especially the Senate, these senators would not be in office. Their state governments would fire them and recall them on the spot, and we wouldn't have to put up with these yahoos. There would be no more McCain's holding the rest of us up because he's got some weird ego about him, because the man wasn't right in the head either. He was angry with the world. And what do we have? A week-long funeral for that jackass? For that maverick? We're supposed to celebrate a man whose ego was so big he violated the policies of the Navy and caused a fire, killing how many men on the deck of the aircraft carrier? And the only reason he wasn't court-martialed was because his dad was an admiral way up high in there and protected him? And why is it that the North Vietnamese weren't able to shoot down our B-52s until after the arrival of John McCain at the Hanoi Hilton? Did he really get shot down, or did he just go over to the other side to help them out? I don't think the world is what we think it is. It certainly isn't what we think it is. So we are going to allow ourselves to be ruled over a minority because we're not allowed to point out that they're a minority. And it turns out that they don't even believe their own religion, that these folks that are running us have actually taken on the identity, stolen the identity. And so they actually appear to be out of a particular suburb in Babylon. They all seem to come from the same neighborhood. And yet they're running the free world today. They are the masters of it. But we're not allowed to call that out, because that would be racist of us. That would be bad of us. Why don't we just call them evil and wicked? Merrick Garland is evil and wicked. Look at his Department of Justice. Is there any justice administered therein? Oh no, not at all. You want to go after the parents of the children who want their children educated the way they want them educated? There's a cure for that. We do away with the entire school system. No more government education. It's not a public education. It's a evil government educating those children. And you watch the videos of those guys that show up for the transvestite or whatever it is, reader hour, that are doing those dances for those kids, and the kids are cheering on as they're there mostly naked, not even half naked, but almost completely naked. And they do these suggestive dances, and they seduce your children. They sexualize your children. They pervert your children. And I'm not talking about grade school children. They're there in the kindergarten classes. Those children do not need that kind of stimulus. It is child sexual exploitation. It's grooming on an industrial scale. And we're supposed to tolerate that because we have to coexist. We have to practice tolerance. Notice how the devil says tolerance. We have to tolerate them. We have to coexist. Yet when they get into power, a little bit of power, they don't want to coexist. They don't have any room for our values. Excuse me, my mustache itches a little bit. Well, I've got the link for you down below so you can get the best Bible. And you can be a contrarian and do the opposite of what Barack insane Hussein Obama has advocated. So you can get the best Bible and read it. I am working to get better out there. It looks like we're going to have a version in the Philippine language. And there are wonderful people there, and I don't want to hold them back on that. I have my own project that I'm working with in the background, trying to get it going as well. You need these extra books. You really do. Because they continue the prophecy of Daniel and help you to understand the beast system. So what's coming up is we're going to focus on the book of Daniel, and then we're going to focus on the continuation of that in Esdras, 2 Esdras in the Apocrypha, in particular, chapter 11, just before chapter 11 and just after chapter 11. Why do you need to do that? Well, I don't know if it gets you saved, but I think it really is important that you know the beast system, that you understand what is going on right now. And since you made it this far with me, I'll tell you what I believe. The three-headed eagle that is in 2 Esdras, Esdras just being a Latinized version of the name Ezra, the three-headed eagle consists of the 3 different jurisdictions that are ruling the planet today, through which the bad guys are ruling the whole place. And so we do have a one-world government. And the middle head, the biggest of the 3 heads, which has been asleep for quite a while, is awakened. And that head would be the Vatican. All right? And you have 2 other heads that are lesser heads on this eagle. And they've been active this whole time. And we are at the point where one of those heads, it appears, devours the other head. So one of those heads is clearly Washington, D.C., which isn't part of our government at all. It's a separate jurisdiction. And the other head is clearly the city of London, that little bankers, corporate community up there, that even the Queen of England has to get permission before she can enter it. And she has to bow down to the mayor of the city of London, because he has jurisdiction. Maybe over her completely, or at least over everything in that little city of London. So that's the other eagle's head. And one of those is eating the other one right now as we speak. So which one is eating the other one? I have my opinion. But what's your opinion? Are the bankers, the corporate gangsters out of the city of London, eating the war machine that's in Washington, D.C., depleting it of all reserves, and purposely making it vulnerable and setting it up so that it can be destroyed by a combination of the Russian and Chinese and maybe North Korean and maybe 3 other countries' armies, nuclear arsenals, that they might be attacking us to do that? Might that not be what's described in the book of Zechariah and in the other prophets? Jeremiah, Ezekiel. Yes, they described 3,000 years ago a nuclear war. And they said we were going to be treated just like Sodom and Gomorrah. We found Sodom. We excavated Sodom. We found physical evidence that nukes were used. Yes, Creator Father Yahweh sent a couple angels there and they nuked Sodom. Hellfire and brimstone, or sacrificial fire, as it interprets properly. And we interpret it angel in the basket or something like that, or evil woman in the basket. Turns out it refers to the fire of a nuclear sacrificial fire. That's a possible future for us. We're right on the verge of that. And you got somebody who is occupying the office of the presidency, put in there by hook and by crook, and he's actually got Barack Obama running the show behind him. That's what I can tell. I mean, that's my perception. I don't know what yours is. But if you've gotten this far, I just want to leave you with this idea. We have the culmination of the beast system. We have a one world government, and they will put a tighter grip upon us until we throw their yoke off. And we can't fight them. We certainly can't do it alone. We have to turn to Yahweh, Creator, Father. And we need to turn to our founders. They gave us the proper government structure. They gave us our militias. We no longer have those. And when you look at the three branches of government, we walk around hearing all day long how there are three co-equal branches. That's not true. If you read the Constitution, you realize that some have more power than the others. And the weakest of those three is the judiciary. The Supreme Court is the weakest by design. And the most powerful by design is the Congress. The Congress has the power to declare war, but yet we have a president who's waged war in violation of the Constitution. And all of your budgets, all of your budgeting, your fiscal bills are supposed to originate in the Congress, but you've got judges at the bench dictating how you're going to spend money, and you have bills originating in the Senate like happened last time by Mitch the Bitch, Ditch Mitch, who put that horrible monstrosity through that's going to cause the collapse of the currency that we use today. This phony money that the bankers have foisted off on us, their monopoly money. That came out of Babylon. Isn't it horrible that a little group of people has decided to take on another identity? They've always been thieves, robbers, and stealers. They've always been identity thieves. And they took on an identity of a minority to hide behind that and claim permanent victimhood, professional victimhood, while they put the screws to the rest of us. While they beat the shit out of us, they scream that they are the victims. There's the sociopathic culture, folks. They rule America today. You need to wake up to it. You also need to realize that there's some good folks that run around in that faith, doing the best they can by it. But it looks like the ones that are running us, they worship their father. Cain was their father. Who was Cain's father? Gadriel, one of the 5 leaders of the fallen angels, who seduced Eve and fathered that half-breed named Cain, who murdered his half-brother, Abel. Get that word out there, folks. I'm going to end with this. I think I've gone on long enough. I hope you don't find this offensive and report this video. I mean, there's plenty of reason to take offense, but I think I covered it in a way that you understand this is the fight between good and evil. And of course, I don't think that we have exactly good running the show here on YouTube or on Facebook or in our government or in the Department of Justice or our FBI, who's busy opening criminal investigations up on parents and now upon Catholics who attend the Latin Mass. Wow. The insanity is increasing. Yes, we're going towards the end of the earth age, and the insanity is going to increase more. Batten the hatches. May Yahweh bless. May He make America good again. May we restore our republic.